Yes, yes, yes. Ayiti organic, Ayiti organic, Ayiti organic, Ayiti organic experience. Ayiti organic 1804. What's 1804 first? Then it's Ayiti organic experience. Welcome, welcome. Take a seat, sit down. Let's talk a little bit. This is a shirt that I made. I haven't been promoting my shirts. I need to get back on that because I did sell a few. So you guys have to log on, the link tree, post it up, and go onto the Printify, grab a shirt, and I'll design some new shirts. Sometimes I gotta just be thinking and come up with some concepts, some ideas. Shouts out to AI. So today, I'm gonna shout out to brother Patrick who sent me a message earlier today, wanted to know what do I think is next, like with the situation in Haiti, Port-au-Prince, these gangs. Do I think like America, huh? America, they're going to send the military down and this and that. So I told him I was going to make a video about that. And and when we're talking about Haiti, this isn't Haiti, of course, this is somewhere in America, probably Los Angeles. There's certain places around the states where there's drug addicts all over the place. Things are rough. Some people fall victim. But I wanted to speak in regards to invasion in the country. It's all about that chapter 7. Okay, so we're gonna discuss a little bit about the chapter 7 protocols with the United Nations and how they're using it, for like Gaza. They're using it for other places, and we're going to go into detail about how that works. Now, you know that the United Nations, after the Second World War, all these nations came together, and they're supposed to be like the policemen of the world, right? I mean, I would say that like the policemen of the world. They're supposed to be monitoring, helping, this and that. Now, how helpful have they been ever since it was born back in the 40s? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there were times they did help, like countries figure out certain problems, especially when you have a lot of like the civil disputes that goes on in places in Africa, Eastern Europe. But sometimes you have to ask yourself how deep, you know, can like members of the United Nations or the people behind, there's always someone behind, these groups. There's always other groups that they don't talk about. But the chapter 7. So chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter, it grants the Security Council the power to determine threats to peace and acts of aggression uh, against a nation. Then they are able to take enforcement action, including military force, and they use this to restore uh, peace, security. Right? It's supposed to aid everyone. Meaning, like when you're looking at the country, when you're looking at what's going on in the republic, Haiti, if it's destabilized and it's upside down, it's going to affect all of the countries in the region, right? That's why you see like Bahamas right now, they're like trying to do a pause. Turks and Caicos, any country that starts to have an influx of migrants in the area, it's usually Haitians, right? Especially here coming into the United States. So now you have to ask yourself, if they place this chapter 7, which they already have, and they're going to send troops, is this going to be helpful? Is this going to help the country? Like some people would agree that the Kenya force and troops that they sent down there, they can't really do the job. A lot of them, they don't even like going on missions because they said that they themselves, they're not protected when they're fighting against the gangs. So of course, right now, what's the next step? Okay, so people that said, well, they're going to just try to occupy the country again. I mean, the country's probably already been occupied, right? Everything that led to the situation that led to the problems that we see today, I believe that the shit is all planned out. So when we're talking about Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter, there's articles um, 39 all the way to Article 51, which defines the powers that they can use, right? And outlines potential non-military or military sanctions and establish provisions for the use of their military force by all the member states. When the United Nations, when they had MINUSTAH, MINUSTAH was headed by Brazil, but they had, soldiers that was from um, India, Bangladesh, other places in Africa, even though the majority was Brazilian. Matter of fact, the last time they left, when the United Nations had the military and then they left with MINUSTAH, they left a whole bunch of children, you know? So that's another thing too. Like right now, you have like another group of kids, maybe a couple hundred, maybe it might be even more, that are children who their fathers were, working with the United Nations as military personnel or whatever, and they got kids pregnant. I mean, some were grown, some were kids. I believe they even violated some of the children. So when they come in, it's not always a great thing. Um, but this is probably how they choose to invade countries now. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody got to split the money. Don't forget, we do have natural resources, so they're not going to just come down just to help you, right? They got to help themselves, help their pockets. The United Nations Security Council has again authorized military intervention in Haiti under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter. And this is to address the ongoing crisis of gang violence. Gang violence. You know what I'm saying? They've already they put these gangs as terrorists, which I don't know. When we say terrorists, I never really look at barbecue like a terrorist. I mean, he could be like he's gang, gang. You got gangs all over the place. There's gangs all over the Caribbean. There's gangs in America. Are they going to start labeling all the gangs terrorists? I think it's like a disrespect to like real terrorists. When I think of I always go back to the oligarchs and the politicians in Haiti. Those are terrorists, right? I don't think you need a militia or I don't think you need a military to just go and start arresting politicians, arresting oligarchs and all these Zionist people. But I believe they got to put on a show. They can't just have you know what's going on. They got to put on a show. In October 2023, Resolution 2699 authorized a multinational security mission to help reestablish security and enable free and fair elections. That was in 2023, but we've been going through this problem worse, all right? And it's actually gotten worse for the past 2 years. So now this authorization has been renewed and adapted last month, September, with a new resolution creating a larger gang suppression force to conduct targeted operations against gangs, secure critical infrastructure, and support the police, the Haitian National Police. One thing I realized too, the UN and different other governments, like my uncle, your uncle probably, if you're living in America, they they don't want to support the military. They don't want to give the military, more backing. It's very rocky, the relationship they have towards the military. I don't think they want to see the military grow. They want to just keep on bringing in this United Nations money and just spread it amongst themselves instead of just helping the military in Haiti become, more sufficient and able to fight. These some of these military guys, if they have the right training, they could take care of the gangs like really really quick. And then now, they can start having arrests made for the people that created the gangs. That's what it should really be about. But I don't know. I guess they're not really feeling that. But that's what it really should be about, man, in my opinion. So I don't know what you guys think. Leave comments, of course. I'd like to hear the comments, what you guys think. How do you see this whole Chapter 7 situation? Um, you know what? What's the title for this video, y'all? I didn't think of a title yet. What does Chapter 7 mean for Haiti? All right, you like that? Yeah. So they're going to authorize another force. I believe the numbers is like 5,000 or 5,500. And this is now called the Gang Suppression Force. So it's new, right? It's larger than the first couple hundred they sent. And this is like a new resolution. This is like a new contract. Now they're here, and we don't know when they're gonna leave. You understand? You really don't know when they're gonna leave. Key aspects of this new 2025 resolution, and it's wild. October 1st is the beginning of the new fiscal year in Haiti, right? So this is supposed to be like normally when the country is not rocky up and down, everything is supposed to be running like this is like the time you make um, you pay out your taxes, right? If you have homes, if you have businesses, if you have certain things going on in the country, this is the time of renewal. This is the time of, like I said, especially people that have business, that work, that have taxes. This is when the country is functioning like regularly. You know what I'm saying? So to have them now come with this brand new contract, and basically the fact that there's no government. There's I mean, there's a government, but it's not legitimate. You know what I'm saying? When you look at the situation, it's like the same people that just assassinated the last president are the same people now who is coming up with this solution. Okay? Because one thing we'd have to pay attention to when the United Nations they send this new mission down, and they have the ability, they have the rights to arrest. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be basically like the new cops on the block. Will they arrest any of the elites, like the oligarchs, the people who finance all of this craziness, the corrupt politicians? Are they going to start arresting these people, or are they going to just continue with the show? I think they're going to just continue with the show. Key aspects of this resolution: coordinate with the Haitian National Police. Oh, well, they do say and the Haitian Armed Forces, so that's good. Maybe they are going to give the military a little bit of help, um, because for so long they didn't even want to recognize the military. And really, I see a lot of the military personnel, they're going to Mexico for training. Support humanitarian access. You guys know, all over downtown areas of Port-au-Prince, people are in tent cities, sleeping in the streets. Kids are getting violated. I think they've caught a couple kids that have AIDS. They caught the virus. So, like I said, a lot of you who are part of this Haitian experience, I mean, at least from time to time, do a little check, see what's going on in the country, even if you don't pay attention every day. I'm not going to say to oversaturate your mind, but there's a lot of suffering still going on over there. And one of the last key aspects of the 2025 new resolution is to focus on human rights. The resolution emphasizes the need for the highest standards of transparency and conduct by the deployed personnel to prevent human rights violations and abuses. I mean, I already told you guys what happened the last time. They all-word raped some younger people and violated some and had some children and left them there. So it's just a disaster all around. But what do you think? Hmm? What will this uh, Chapter 7, what will it bring for Haiti? Will it help? Will it continue to just have us going down that spiral? You know what I mean? And like I said, other areas where there's tourism, where things is a little bit more open, they will still be in effect. They're still being affected. That's a fact, because there's still places that are being lost to these gangs. You understand? There's still areas where the police and the military, they can't go. That means it's these gangs that are operating and working things out. So what do you believe? Chapter 7 resolution, what will it bring for the Republic? Anyway, that's what I got. I try to keep them short. I know you guys want them longer, but no, right now, do them short, about 20 minutes until it gets more and more and more. Continue to support Ayiti Organic, Ayiti Organic, Ayiti Organic. This is the Ayiti Organic experience. Let's get back to 1804, Ayiti Organic 1804. Log on to the link tree, buy some merchandise. You know what I'm saying? Buy some merchandise and support the content. Support the content. Aibo.